cleaning started so people can sit in their warm beds in Whangarei and Opua and listen to what it's like at sea. Go ahead.
Good morning, Patricia. We are at 2105 south, 1753 west. We've got a course of 075 true, speed 6 knots, and we've got southeast 25. Over.
Yeah, boys, plenty of wind out there for everyone. Yesterday they were all moaning about not too much wind, and now they've got too much. All right. Do you people know the folk on Wind Chase? Over.
Negative. We've been having a couple of boats for the last, since we left North Minerva. I'm not sure who they are. That could be them. Over.
No, it's not. They're coming up from the South Island. They're actually just north of North Cape at the moment. I thought, there's so few people in the South Island, I was sure that you would know them. Anyway, I've got your position. 2105-17533 west, 075 true, 6 knots with a southeast 25. Yeah, a boat ahead of you a little bit reported stronger winds last night. Did you get strong winds last night, or has it been about the 25 mark? Over.
No, we've had 35 when the front came through, 35 more from the south. Over.
Yep, that ties in with what they've been getting too. Who was it? I think it was Wavelength, I think. But yes, they certainly got a good dollop of wind last night. They're actually at 20 south at the moment and 179 40 west, virtually on the date line, and they were hove too. They got it up to 50 knots plus, and in fact Wind Chase way further south, west of New Zealand, in fact in the North Island, they got really strong winds. So yes, there's been bursts of it under this trough in front. It's not been very pleasant, but give the crew plenty to do. Over.
Yeah, roger that.
Yeah, I'm sure they're grimacing. All right, we'll clear with Rapaki. Making good progress, though. And good morning, everybody who has joined us. We can actually report, Patricia and David here at Gulf Harbour Radio, that we have an absolutely glorious morning, not a cloud in the sky. We have 4 knots from the southwest, 12 degrees, so it hasn't actually dropped below that all night. 1021.8 and rising, so not too bad a day at all. Might even get some laundry done today. But boy, has there been some activity in the islands. Certainly under this trough, it's given some people quite a lot to do all night, particularly in Suva. Miss Murphy reported from Suva a thunderstorm struck there last night and dislodged a ferry which meandered through the anchorage in Suva and took a few boats with it, including Miss Murphy, who ended up having to kedge off a rock bottom, and they are in fact motorless as the chain wrapped round their lovely new feathering prop. So they're going to have a bit of work today, and I presume others in Suva will have had a fairly sleepless night. I know Sahula is there, a couple of other boats, so not a very good night. And in fact, there's been pockets of strong winds all over the place. Wavelength, they're currently at 20 south and almost the date line. They had to hove to last night with 50 plus knot winds, 4 metre seas, bit of damage to the Bimini. But they've lost a bit of time there. Second gale on their passage, so boy, they are really having to work. They are having to helm because their autopilot's out of action. So, yep, a lot of people having to do a bit of work. And Wind Chase, if you heard, came on early, who are going up the west coast of the North Island. They've just cleared the Cape. They've had pretty strong winds where they are too. So all in all, not very wonderful, but everyone so far sounds as if they're fairly safe. An interesting report has come through. I'm just trying to work out who it was from. A boat that was in New Caledonia. In fact, they are in New Caledonia, and are reporting that because of the upcoming election, they have these every few years to see whether they're going to get their independence or not. They won't, because it is far too important a strategic position for France and the rest of the Western world to let it go away. But they're finding this a little bit stressful in New Caledonia at the moment. So people that are going to head to New Caledonia might want to keep that in mind, that it could be a little bit stressful, particularly in some places like Louvain, who have never been all that keen on being part of New Caledonia French anyway. If only they knew how good they had it there, or realised that they had it good there. So, all right. What about anybody else that is, I think pretty much everybody has, oh, we need to find Tuaki. Can you copy us yet, Tony? Over. Nothing heard from Tuaki. Is there anybody else wanting to check in this morning? Good morning. And how did you fare in the tumult in Suva last night? You seem to bring the bad conditions with you, David. Over.
Yes, I can't give a good report. We were hit by the large moving surge, launched into a void, bagged into shallow water, and we were very lucky not to lose the boat. We did manage to get off. Time mounted to bounce our way stern, and we were able to re-anchor. We lost all our anchor chain, we lost all our anchor. We damaged the bulwark. We're not in a good state. But we're alive. The boat is still able to be used, but we do have a major claim against every boat that doesn't stay in Turkey and Sweden program. So we can't report to us, but we're an anchor. It's now calm condition, and on the drop of 104, we had about 40 plus knots coming across the last year or two of it, and got back to the boat and we managed to get it off and back to the rescue boat. The tug did not get to it. It was too shallow, but we managed to get off. And we were authorities, the harbour was very good. We were trying to help. But of course, we were in too shallow water, so they couldn't do anything. So not a good night for everyone, but we're all getting together today to assess the situation and see what's to be done. Quite a few boats moved. They didn't have the collision with this large ferry, which sits over there on the sea. So who was there?
Oh, that's a terrible story from David and Lynn at Suva in Fiji, with that wind, the storm last night, and the big boat. Was it a fishing boat or a ferry? Over.
There are two boats here, both of the same company. I suspect one which is active, another one which is not active. In other words, nobody on board. And the one that was nobody on board dragged through this fleet of boats which were waiting. Probably they were together because he came in and the boat was divided and it's just there. They're just unfortunate. Unfortunately, but of course we'll be looking into the insurance ramifications and so forth today. As I say, we'll be seeing what happens. The authorities, as I say, were very good in certain senses. The biggest country to help us was to set it up, so it is more major. So a very large charter, super yacht drag, was seriously in trouble for a while, and they managed to get away. I think they would have done well. That would have been a big cost. But anyway, our biggest cost.
Yeah, quite a long story yeah, that there'll be a lot of talking today, I would imagine, and I do hope that the talking will lead to some satisfactory outcomes for the boats that have been damaged. But as you say, you're both okay, and it sounds like everybody is okay, but we'll have to not a good start to the season for about 3 or 4 boats. Anyway, well, thank you for that report, David, and there's a couple of others have reported as well. I hope Miss Murphy and Elisham, thanks for the reports there. But boy, that was a bit of a to-do-ment there in Suva Harbour last night. All right, I'm going to wait to Tony on Tuaki to talk to you maybe after the weather, but I'll give a call in a few minutes just to update people on any news from New Zealand that's of interest, although there wasn't an awful lot in the papers today. A lot of people are actually catching fish, quite a few more catching fish. We tended not to do much on Passage, but there's been a lot of fish caught, and you did enjoy it, because back here in New Zealand, on sale, there was an advert this morning from New World, on sale, on special, snapper is 35 New Zealand dollars a kilo, $35 a kilo, as opposed to smoked bacon, which was only $14 a kilo, less than half the price. Mind you, I suppose you'd have to put the extra savings into cardiology bills, but boy, $35 on special for snapper. It's not all that great anyway. I'd much rather do the mahi-mahi. All right, for those that are interested in cardiology type foods, ice cream, they've just had the big ice cream competition, 385 entries, and for the 4th time, the Tip Top Boysenberry Ripple, which I've never even tasted because I'm a rum and raisin person and David's a chocolate person, the Boysenberry Ripple got the top prize for ice cream overall. In the boutique class, Janelli's Black Sesame. Could you imagine having black sesame ice cream? Mind you, it's a bit better than the gelato section, which was won by cardamom, ginger, and turmeric. A yogurt creation called Indian Sunrise or something like that. Boy, anyway. Disgusting, says David. Well, if you're into skiing, the ski fields are all opening early. Remarkable's opened yesterday. And if you are a foreign person, you might as well buy a home in Auckland, because 1 in 5 people buying homes in Auckland are foreigners with no residency criteria. It's actually higher in Queenstown, in the Queenstown Lakes District area. Quite a few homes there just owned by foreigners that come in for holidays and then sit idle for the rest of the year. And for those interested in what's going on in Auckland, I can't imagine there's too many of you out there, the Western Springs Speedway, finally, after 90 years, will no longer be a speedway. They are going to move at the end of 2019 to a new site at Wirring. So finally, all the moaning, grizzling people that bought near the speedway, knowing that it was a speedway, only 12 times a year they're allowed to use it as a speedway, they will be listening now to the thwack of cricket balls, as the cricket people will move from Eden Park to Western Springs and leave Eden Park open for more concerts. So I don't suppose the people at Eden Park will be all that happy. It's better to have things on in the daytime than at night time. But anyway, that's what's going on in Auckland. Tuaki, let's try again. No, I'm not going to pick you up today, Tony. I'll just see if there's anybody that can pick up Tuaki who is going from Queensland to the Louisiades. Anybody? Give a couple of calls of your boat name, Tony, and we'll see who might be able to copy you. Okay, thanks, Trevor, and I might be able to get it now. So go ahead, Tony, and we'll see what we can do. Okay, Trevor, I've got everything except the latitude. How did you do that on that?
Yeah, I only got the degrees and I'm the base latitude and the longitude. Going in with your latitude again, Delaney, please. Yep, that's way through there. 1 south. 1 4 5 6 5.
Okay, got that that time. Yes, just needed to be a little slower. 1456 south, 14942 east, steering 035 true. It reminds me, folks, always give 3 digits for your course. I know a lot of people are ignoring the 0, but it makes it a little difficult to work out. So just do 035 true, 5.7. What are your conditions, Tony? Oh, yep. Okay, yes, you have done pretty well looking at the position, so that's good. I've got a lot of noise on the frequency today. I'll just check that David, oh, I know what it might be. We've still got the towel heating rack on. Boy, that's always, I forgot to check it this morning. That is one of the noisiest things for radio, and that's what it is, the heating towel rack. You wouldn't believe it, would you? He's going to go, but he's going to stay right there because he's going to start the weather now, and I will go and do it. Okay, Tony, I presume all is well on board, over? Yeah, I'm not getting that, so I'll go and I'll pass the microphone, and then we can pick up things after I go and reduce the noise in here. Here's David.
Okay, good morning everybody, and it is time to check out 500 millibar and see what our shortwave troughs are up to up there. And what's obvious is still the presence of a wave up in the tropics. A few days ago, you'll remember, the prod was for the axis to be to the east of Vanuatu, but today it's actually just a little bit to the west. So there is the support right there for the development of a surface low. Now, yesterday afternoon, I did catch an Ascot microwave swath. This is the satellite that picks up the actual wind speed and direction. This swath was over Vanuatu and to the east. And lo and behold, just to the east of Erromango were cyclonic winds of well over 40 knots, 40 to 45 knots. Now that is a lot of wind. And my forecast yesterday did not pick that much wind up. And this does show you the power of the upper levels in the tropics, and that's why we do look at it. Remember, the upflow is always east of the axis. So when I mentioned to you that the wave axis is to the west, the actual upflow is on the eastern side of it, right where the strongest winds are. Anyhow, as I said, I did not look at the upper levels yesterday morning, and there's a lesson right there. There was indeed a very productive upper trough, and even the surface models did not pick up this amount of wind. So now you may have the idea, I suppose, why I bore you to tears nearly every morning when I talk about 500 millibar. It's really important for me to look at that. Okay, early this morning, satellite imagery does show a depression then east of Vanuatu with a quite an active heavy trough over Vanuatu, continuing on to the northwest toward the Louisiades actually, and then the other direction east to on the south side of Fiji and Tonga. And a secondary trough runs over New Caledonia, and that goes southeast to about 25 and 175 east, and then it goes on to just north of Raoul Island and keeps going. And for Minerva Reef, they're still in the middle of these two troughs. Again, they're quite active. So the winds today at 30 south up to 25 south are essentially southerly quadrant. They'll be southeast if you're heading toward New Cal, and southerly on the dateline itself, and then southwest if you're heading toward Minerva Reef. Minerva itself looks to have southerlies. Not sure if we heard from anyone there this morning. Now this depression that's just east of Erromango, it's taking various tracks depending upon the model that you happen to be looking at. Now EC has it tracking south-southeast, GFS southeast, others are somewhere in between, so that's more or less the direction that it's going to go. Now by Wednesday, EC has it just to the northeast of New Zealand, and the fancy predict wind models have it near 30 and 175 west at that point. UK Met has it near that position as well. And for those of you that are still waiting to leave New Zealand, I don't know, still the middle of next week is a possibility, although I could tell you models are all over the place on this. The winds look quite variable, quite confused, and that is because the depression that's tracking down is just altering the normal trade winds considerably. So we'll have to wait till Monday to see exactly what's going on as things stabilize there. Okay, up in the islands and near the islands, first looking at Tonga, where the main edge of the trough is actually over Tonga Tapu, and bits of it are over the Hapais. Vavau, though, essentially has scattered cloud this morning on the loop. Tonga Met has flash flood warnings for Tonga Tapu, so pay attention to that if you're near Tonga Tapu. So expect plenty of rain and cloud and wind. The trough may slide a bit north and involve Vavau later today, but the opposite could happen. So just be ready one way or the other for something to happen. Now, tomorrow is a function of really which way the trough does go. Today, again, it may drop to the south, again, in which case Tonga may be only partly cloudy and isolated showers, but if it does go the other way, then it's a different story, obviously. Winds by lunch today look to be north to north-northwest for Vavau, fairly light, and north-northwest to northwest for the Hapais, also light in the mean. Now, late today, I think southerlies are going to take over the Hapais, and they're going to be rising up to about 20 knots. And tomorrow, expect easterly quadrant winds for much of the group. Again, the active trough areas are going to produce winds 35 to 40 knots. So everybody who was near Fiji found out, quite unfortunately, what an active trough can bring. You don't need to have a tropical depression to have damaging winds, that's for sure. Over to Fiji then, which is covered in cloud really, but the heaviest cloud is over Viti Levu, the Muscat Cove, Kindavu, southwest from there as well. Now the main part of the trough is really over those areas, southern Viti Levu, Kindavu, southern Lao. Now Fiji Met has issued a strong wind warning for all of those areas, and they're including the Asawas in this as well. And this will probably continue into tomorrow. So be very careful during this period. There's going to be very heavy rain, which is going to affect visibility. That is going to include thunderstorms. And when you have thunderstorms, you can easily have gusts 35 to 45 knots. So be very careful. Now the winds will be mainly south-southeast to southeast. That's the mean wind, and that'll be 15 to 25 knots in most places, and up to 35 or so in a few other places. Now, when I say mean wind, when you have a thunderstorm microburst, downflow, those winds could be from any direction. It depends on just exactly where the thunderstorm is located. So when I talk about a mean direction wind, it doesn't include where those gusts are going to come from. So make sure you've got plenty of room to swing. Saturday now is going to see easterlies for the Lau and the Koro Sea, northeasterlies for Kendavu and the Asawas, and southwest winds, southwest of Viti Levu. I see winds of up to 40 knots plus. Now, this area is the eastern side of the depression that's east of Erromango. So that particular depression is reaching out to just about touch Fiji. So the models are not really picking this up. I'm getting this information mainly from the microwave satellite and looking at the degree of cloud on the satellite loops. The models are underplaying the wind considerably. So you're looking at your grids, you're not seeing these kind of winds. You never will, particularly when you do have thunderstorm activity. The grids don't pick this up. They're just looking at more or less the mean wind based upon the isobars that they see. They just don't pick up thunderstorms. Okay, Vanuatu is fully engaged in this active trough, so expect cloud and showers. Some of these are going to be quite heavy. The microwave swath that I got early this morning, as opposed to the one yesterday afternoon, I'm looking at the area that's just to the east of Tanna and Erromango, and they're showing 40 knots, mostly southerly there, but that's all part of cyclonic rotation that is reaching Fiji. Now, Anisham is showing roughly 25 to 30 out of the southeast. And again, this is a momentary swath, so the winds that it shows are not a forecast wind. They're just showing at exactly that time what the winds were. Now, north of Efate, the winds are going to be a little bit lighter. Some southeast to east, 10 to 15. Other areas are going to have westerlies. The directions are quite variable once you get north of Efate. So Vanuatu is a tough call on that. And over to Newcastle, that shows plenty of cloud and rain on imagery. The main bands have left, at least when this loop was run. Winds are fairly strong, though, in the southern lagoon, so expect southeast 25 knots, gusts up to 35 knots, plus the same on Saturday. The loyalties are worse. They've got much more rain and gusty winds, easily 35 knots for the loyalties. Not a great day for New Caledonia weather-wise. So that's the story. When we talk about active troughs, prepare yourself for very strong winds, momentary. When I say momentary, 10, 15 minutes type of thing. And in some cases could be even longer than that. And it doesn't take much to have anchors break loose, as unfortunately we found out. And you have to watch these older boats too. I could remember being up in Sola a number of years ago. We had quite a bit of wind up there, and we had this fishing boat came in. It was a pretty good sized fishing boat, about 45 feet, maybe bigger. And it just kept dragging everywhere. We were up all night, shining lights on this thing, seeing which way it was going to go next. Next morning, when it was light enough, they decided they were going to leave, which we were thankful for, and they hauled up their anchor. Their anchor consisted of 4 or 5 concrete blocks tied together.
And a couple of pieces of wood.
And a couple of weak pieces of wood. It wasn't dangerous. It was a joke. It really was. So you never know what's at the bottom of these ropes that some of these boats have. So anyway, I'll stop here. Questions or comments come now. And here's the boss.
Yeah, and to repeat too that you folk that are up there in Vanuatu, if you want specific information for travelling north when you come to want to leave, then let us know. Actually, the top of Vanuatu is looking a bit better. I'm surprised that you gave that report from New Caledonia, because New Cal and the Northern Island and Fiji seem to be the only ones in the clear. Well, Samoa is looking good too.
This is all
But well, it's cloud, but it's not as grim as what they've got in other places. Yes, and that's moving. All right, so if anybody is out there wanting anything, let us know. And don't forget, tomorrow is a very casual day. If you want specific things, we'll just treat it as you come up on air. But it is a day that we tend to listen to you and see if there's anybody out there, rather than prepare a rather long-winded report covering the whole island. All right, is there anybody else with anything? Oh, why? Good morning to you. I bet you're pleased that you are not in Suva. Over.
Yeah, not bad. We caught the last we just got focus taken up. And one cloudy day, the winds in the southeast to about 15 knots.
Okay, the Mamamukas, 15 knots. Yeah, I was just looking at where, Tabiuni, whereabouts is, Messatroy is in the Vianney Bay area, southerly, still funneling through, but probably going to southeasterly. Y said southeasterlies at the Mamamukas, and 15 knots roughly. Did I get that correct? Alrighty. What you and the Mamamukas for the next couple of days? What are they looking like? Hang on a minute. I'll pass the microphone.
I'm actually showing stronger winds, probably just off to the west of where you are. Then it looks like it's going to go east-southeast a little bit later today toward lunchtime. A lot of wind shadow area there, which is good. And looking right through dinner and further, the winds look like they pick up. You might see east-northeast winds, and they might be in the 20-knot range. Now, all this depends on what this trough is going to do. Right now, that whole area is on the right on the northern edge of the taller clouds. There is cloud over you, I'm sure, but it's not real tall compared to what I'm seeing on the imagery now. If that does slip north, then those winds will be stronger. So it just depends on which way that thing gets pushed. Saturday, hang on. Saturday, the winds look like, all through the Sawas, quite strong out of the northeast, 25 to 30 knots. And then the actual depression, I'm looking at some French modeling. If you draw a line that goes from Vanuatu to Viti-Levu and keep on going, that line, which goes to the southwest then, that's showing the center of the depression. And in there, those winds are being indicated 35 knots, gust 40, but well south of the island groups. Now, it won't get up there, that amount of wind. That whole thing is going to be heading south or in the southerly quadrant direction. But the fringe areas could have a fair amount of wind. And that's Saturday. On Sunday, everything changes. All of the winds now west of both Viti-Levu and Vanuatu-Levu are westerly quadrant, and fairly light from what I can see. All of the wind is being sucked into the depression well to the south, and from what I can see, 10 to 15 knots, really not much. The only thing to be thinking about is the wind direction. So in other words, if you're anchored a bit close to shore, then that may be a problem. But that's what it looks like for Sunday early. And looking a little bit later on Sunday, this is where the models are showing hardly any wind at all. Very light and variable. The wind's coming from all directions on about lunchtime on Sunday, mostly from a westerly sort of direction, but could be anywhere. Over.
Geez, I got confused with all of that. It sounded like an island forecast with winds from all over the place. Finally getting back to the westerlies that you started with. All right. Clear with Y and blind spot. If you are listening, blind spot, I'm confused as to where you are at the moment. Haven't seen anything on yet for a while. If you could update on that one, that would be good. Is there anybody else with any question? I was wondering about you yesterday, Bill. Are you still in the Muscat Cove area? Over. Wow. Well, you were probably pleased that when I talked about Suva, and thanks, folks, for the report. There's another good report from Alicia. You fared better at Nananui Ra than the folk in Suva, but presumably the anchor worked well and the southerlies weren't too bad. Over. Yeah, I'm not picking you up very well. I've still got this noise, which wasn't in fact our heating rail, so I'm not quite sure where the noise is coming from this morning. Hopefully things will be better tomorrow. They usually are better tomorrow. I'm not copying you clear enough to work out what you just said, Bill. Try again. Oh, okay. Got that. Another vessel immediately behind. All right. Is there anything we can help with, Bill? The next few days. I think you probably just covered that in the next few days.
Where's he at?
He's at Nananui Ra. Remind us just roughly of the latitude and longitude. Over. Got that. You've come up quite clear now. 1718 and 17813. We better yes, David's just having a look on the chart here so that he can be a little bit more specific. So 178 east, 178 east, and 17 south. So Nananui Ra. Yeah, we're just looking at on this very detailed map here. All right, he's roughly got where you are. Just stand by a moment.
There's got a lot of wind protection.
Yeah, you've got a lot. David reckons you'll have quite a bit of wind protection in there, but let's have a look at the next few days. Are you going to be staying around there or moving, Bill? Oh, you want to move to Savu Savu over the next few days. All right, stand by. Going east.
Well, unfortunately, it looks like on Saturday morning the winds are easterly. That's not too good for you. They look light there. Got a little bit of protection in where you are, but out in the open water, it looks like I'd say about 15 knots, and that's early in the morning. Looking at about lunchtime, I think it's going to go northeast, so that might not be too good where you are, and probably not too good for heading to Savu Savu either. And by dinner time Saturday, just as bad, northeast, maybe even some northerlies in there where you are, and all the way to Savu Savu as well. Sunday, Bill, if you can hang out where you are, it gets better. The winds come out of the west, northwest, and by lunchtime, still northwest, and a little bit lighter. So I would say Sunday would be the way to go. If you have protection, Saturday I'd stay there if it were us. And yep, Sunday looks a little bit better for what you want to do. Over.
Yeah, it's just not picking you up, Bill. So it's strong enough. It's just not all that clear with this noise I've got here this morning. All right, we'll be in touch again tomorrow. And just to let you know, up there in Vanuatu, heavy rain yesterday, but it's dried up today in the Mescalines, 100% cloud cover. Thanks, Frank. And Sarani over there in the, there's no mine site where they are at the moment on the north side of the of New Caledonia Grand Terre, but it rained most of yesterday. So, yeah, it's not very good. You might as well be here in New Zealand where we have absolutely glorious blue sky day here today. And it's so chilly that you'd be able to walk up the top of any hill to get warm. 12 degrees it is still at the moment. Okay, anybody else?
Hello, mate.
Go ahead, Trevor.
Yeah, good morning. We're just looking at probably heading out to the Reno or Tuku Island, looking at the Griffith showing northeasterly, and more northerly on the 11th. I might have had that out. Let's go.
All right, let's look at going from where you are at the moment, sort of, well, we'll call it Kandavu, and yes, I suppose it is really, and looking to go to the Lao. I knew you guys wouldn't resist getting back there fairly quickly. We haven't heard anything from the Lao this morning. I hope they're all okay there. We had Whistler reported in further north, of course, 5 to 10 knots east-southeast with light rain, but haven't heard anything from the Lao this morning. So let's have a look at getting to the Lao. Stand by.
On Monday? On Monday?
I don't know.
Yeah, Trevor, did you say Monday? Over?
Probably tomorrow afternoon, looking like a possibility, or the following day.
So Saturday or Sunday?
Oh, Saturday or Sunday. Okay. Bear with me. No, not Saturday. I don't think you're going to want to do that. I'm looking at easterly from Kandavu to the southern Lao. I'm looking at straight easterlies, 20 to 25 knots. That's early in the morning. Doesn't change much by lunch. By later in the day, it's tending northeast, about 15 to 20, and by midnight it looks northerly. On Sunday, that's when everything changes. That would be the day to go. It looks like the winds are going to be pretty much north to north-northwest, fairly light on Sunday for making that trip. Over.
Okay, yeah, be, a lot slightly different picture, but no, that sounds good. Okay, thanks, David. We'll pick up with it tomorrow.
Alrighty, we'll see what it looks like.
All right, and just a reminder, folks, not that you'd be probably wanting to go into Suva today, but Trevor did mention yesterday that the procedure now is to call, if you're checking in, that's to Fiji in Suva, Royal Suva Yacht Club, call them on channel 16, and they organise things from there for a small price of Fijian 60. All right, anybody else? Not sure if anybody heard anything. Was there any relays? Oh, you're very light today, Ron. I'll just turn the volume back up again. I always have to turn it down for Trevor. Go ahead, Ron. Oh, that's interesting. Yep. So a pan call didn't get anywhere, and a phone. Did you phone call them? Over. Oh, okay. Thank you for that. So when you called them, who specifically did you call? Over. Oh, okay. So forget the pan and just call Port Authority. And I presume that was close to midnight. Over. No, I've lost Ron now, but he did call Port Authority and raise someone. Now, it's gone straight out in my head and out my head. Who was calling me, Ron? All right, I've lost, and this often happens with Suva, a bit of competition around. I've lost Ron. The vessel calling, I can't quite work out who it is now because I've lost Ron. Who was calling? Please try again. The relay, go ahead.